Because obviously in property, we are a big advocate from day one around, human interest and human behaviour, because property in Australia is a status symbol in a lot of respects. So do you think about that more broadly when you're in the macro or when you get into the micro?
Yeah, yes is the quick answer. And behavioural economics, I'm with you, is absolutely fascinating. But if we think about, for example, we've had a cost of living crunch for a couple of years because of the inflation shock. Now we've finally got to a situation where real household disposable income is picking up because we've got inflation under control. Wages growth is about 3.5%. Inflation's down to 2.5%. Finally, we're getting ahead. We're clawing back the cost of living shock. But now what are people doing with that extra income? Well, right now it's primarily going to savings rather than to discretionary spending. And so that's behavioural economics that explains why that's been the outcome. That's the choice of households at present, because they need to build a little bit more trust before that this is a trend that's going to continue, before they'll perhaps loosen the purse strings and go down the path of discretionary spending a bit more. There are so many examples where behavioural economics is vital. And I can also recommend a book I read over summer called Making Sense of Chaos, which deals in a new field of economics called complexity economics, which is a bit of an extension of behavioural economics. It deals with modelling of sort of agent-based modelling, if you like. So it really does go to the crux of the reality that, mainstream traditional economics assumes that we all behave rationally all the time. Life tells us that we don't, that there is bounded rationalism.
Okay, thank you for my next book.